Hey YouTube. Today we're going to talk about universalism and the idea of universal reconciliation or universal salvation. And I am making this video in response to a question I received from James Jensen about what is my take on the argument for universal reconciliation. Universal reconciliation was one of the earliest forms of heresy taught in the early Christian church. It was a way for early believers to justify the idea that their friends and family that didn't believe were not going to be spending an eternity in hell and would be once again reconciled and brought up to heaven to inherit eternal life through the salvation of Jesus Christ after serving a finite amount of punishment in hell. The reason why that particular idea that theology just doesn't quite match or doesn't quite fit is for the same reason that the annihilationists' theology doesn't quite fit. You mentioned, James, the issue of translation of the word eternal, and you mentioned the achion being translated as eon or age through Greek and from the New Testament writing. Here, okay, I'm looking at Merriam-Webster online, and yeah, eon is an immeasurable or indefinite period of time, which could definitely fall into the idea of eternal in terms of what we believe in eternal punishment in hell. But even aside from that, let's stop and go back to the achion definition and see exactly what that meaning was and how it was used in New Testament writings. And through doing a little bit of research, achion, when referring to time in the New Testament, actually referred to time outside of the conditions of time, or outside the realm of time. Eternal being, we live in a finite world with a finite amount of time. When the achion was used as a measurement of time, it was used to measure the vast span of time that we could not comprehend outside of our belief of time, our realm of, finite time like we know it. With that being said, most of the New Testament references where the word eternal is used in the King James Version also only refers to life. You will inherit eternal life. Every instance is eternal life, eternal paradise, eternal in the sense of heaven. In fact, I even looked it up in a concordance. 47 times the word eternal is used in the Old Testament and New Testament together. Out of those 47 times, only 3 times the word eternal is even used in reference to punishment or hell. And all 3 of those times, it was only reference to the fire, eternal fire, not the punishment itself. Okay. With that being said, I want to look now at the other 44 times that the word eternal is used in the Bible. How it refers to heaven and life as being eternal. In the earliest centuries, when eternal was talked about with this Greek ideology of what was called the perfect parallel. I don't know if you're familiar with this term. I'm sure you can look it up. Google or something. It's called the perfect parallel, and it was used in the Greek language to refer to two not conflicting but contrasted ideas, almost primarily heaven and hell. And if eternal life was inherited, whenever the New Testament talks of inheriting eternal life as being, infinite, there had to be a perfect parallel of that eternity, being hell. So if you can inherit eternal life by accepting Jesus Christ, then you were damned to eternal punishment by rejecting Jesus Christ. I want to move on because more times than eternal, when speaking of punishment, is the word Dios, everlasting, used. Okay? Now, everlasting, clearly, I mean, its definition is strictly that which endures forever with a beginning but having no end. Okay? So, when you look in the Bible and you start looking at punishment, or you look at hellfire, you look at any of those particular examples, a huge percentage of the time it's the word everlasting is actually used, not the word eternal. So keep that into consideration. The one Bible verse that I'm going to use to give you an idea as to where we get this infinite amount of punishment from is in the book of Matthew, chapter 25, and focusing on verse 41. I mean, obviously you probably want to read one or two ahead of that and maybe one or two after to see how that fit into context. But Jesus was, when he was speaking, he used a parable to give a comparison between two different servants, a wicked and slothful servant, and the servant who did what he was supposed to. And through this story, he comes out and then he mentions, he goes, "Then shall he say also to them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into an everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." Now, in this particular verse, the reason why I chose that one is for two reasons. One, it used the word everlasting. Okay, so it mentions of a person being cast into an everlasting fire. The other reason I chose this verse to use for this example for you is it used in the same sentence, in the same verse, it talked about the everlasting fire that was prepared for the devil and his angels. With the ideology behind universalism, would you be able to say that at some point God is also going to reconcile and offer salvation to the devil and his angels? No, I think that pretty much is done and over with. I couldn't imagine that God is going to let Satan back into heaven. Okay, so if these people, if someone is going to be cast into the same eternal punishment as Satan and his followers and Satan and his angels, I can't see where the idea would come that at some point that's going to change, or that's going to be abolished. I mean, with that being said, my take on universalism and the whole universal ideology is, I mean, very strictly, or to put it very bluntly, it's just another heresy invented by a church to justify their own beliefs.